Hello everyone, welcome to a new lesson on this positional chess course that I'm doing for beginners. In this lesson we're going to talk about the backward pawn. In the first lesson we talked about the isolated queen's pawn. In the second lesson we saw the hanging pawns, and now let's talk about the backward pawn, which is another element that appears quite often in our games. In this game by Akiva Rubinstein with the white pieces, we can see that black has some problems in his position. Apparently he doesn't have any weaknesses, but the pawn on a7 seems to be a potential weakness. The backward pawn is that pawn that is left behind by the pawn next to it. In this case, for example, the pawn has advanced to b6, therefore the pawn on a7 already becomes a weakness. One of the main characteristics of the backward pawn, just as it happens with the isolated pawn or the sometimes with the hanging pawns, the square in front of this pawn is also a weakness. Alright, let's see how to handle this type of weakness. And here Rubinstein played the move bishop a6, which makes sense. It blocks the pawn from going to a5. Not that it was the threat at the moment, but it was an idea, definitely. And okay, he basically fixes the pawn. There are some plans with bishop b7, of course, winning the pawn on a7. That's the threat at the moment. He plays bishop b7, so he forces the move bishop c8, and now he simply castles, because after bishop takes on a6, rook takes on a6, white has a clear plan of attack. He's going to play rook f e1, he's going to play knight to b3, and he will try to push b5 at the right time and win the pawn on a7. And that's it. That's basically the problem in black's position, but it's enough to lose the game. Rook f c8, rook f e1, black play king to f8. Okay, the problem now, if white plays b5, is that black has knight to a5. So first, the move knight b3. With the clear threat of b5, knight a5 will lose the pawn. So what does black play? Black plays the move king bishop d8. Yes. And here I'm surprised. Well, I'm not really surprised. Rubinstein was a fantastic player, a classic. There is a lot to learn from his game, and I like the way he handles this position. Now he continues with the move knight to e5. Knight on f3 was not doing much. He eliminates the defender of a7 by trading the knights on e5. Of course, b5 is met with knight a5, and the bishop on d8. The idea of bishop d8 was to defend the pawn on a5. So here white played the move knight to e5, black plays knight h5, bishop h2, knight takes on e5, bishop e5, and bishop c7. Okay, black is striving already for some counterplay. How to create counterplay in this position, you may ask? Why not take on a7 immediately? Well, perhaps black is just hoping to take on e5 and then knight to f4, in which he has some ideas with knight d3, attacking the pawn on b2 and the pawn on e5. So pay attention to Rubinstein's next move, because he simply plays g3. It's a very nice move. You have to recognize this move, because you take away the square f4 from the knight on h5, and if he takes on e5, the knight on h5 doesn't even have it won't even have the square f6. So it's a very nice move, really, that shows the domination of white's position here. Bishop takes on e5, d takes on e5, f6. This move creates a weak pawn on e6 as well. E takes on f6, knight f6, rook a7. The game is over. take on a7. The rest is fairly simple. e5, rook b7, rook c6, and now, okay, it's fairly simple, but white plays accurate till the end. Now Rubinstein plays f4, which is a move that fights for the control over the square d4. If black takes on f4, white plays knight d4, and then he can capture back on f4. And if e4, obviously knight d4 with the winning position. The only chance is to play d4, but after pawn takes on e5, d takes on c3, b takes on c3, rook c3, knight to d4. The threat of knight e6 and winning more material on g7 is too strong. Black took on e3, king h2, knight h5, but this move loses after check and e6. The problem is that he doesn't have king e7 because of knight f5, and then the pawn will promote on the next move. If king g6, the simple e7 will win, or to any move e7 and e8, because when king, for example, king f6, e7, if king e7, knight f5, white wins the rook. So again, it's a simple example to begin with, but you can see already what the backward pawn is and the problems that your position may have if one pawn is left behind in an open file. Okay, if white had the pawn on a2, for example, there wouldn't be any problem in this position. But with the pawn with the a file open, it's different. There is a lot of pressure on a7, and the simple plan of doubling rooks on the a file will cause black a lot of trouble. Okay, let's move on to our next example. Alright, here we have this game by Petrosian with the white pieces against Soboliev, and the position looks normal, typical position from an IMSO or Queen's Indian, and black doesn't seem to have any weakness. However, Petrosian found a very nice idea here. He plays the move d5, shutting the bishop, gaining more space, forcing the next move. Well, black has to take on d5. e5 cannot be advised because after e4, white has a space advantage for free. He can later try to open up with f4 or b4 depending on the situation. Even both moves can be played at some point. In any case, this would be a solid but very passive position for black. So he took on d5, and now, okay, if c takes d5, then white, we have a typical Benoni structure. Black could play a6 to play later on b5, or he could play on the e file. It's true that he's missing the fianchetto bishop on g7, but the position would be acceptable. Okay, of course, Petrosian had a different idea here. Knight to h4, pinning the pawn on d5, and going to f5 on the next move. So the move g6 has to be played, and now white is able to capture on d5 with a piece, which changes everything. It changes everything. It changes the pawn structure. After knight takes on d5, bishop takes d5. Okay, not c takes d5. This move would be against the character of the position. Black could simply go f5, for example, knight f6, rook a to e8. Nothing to complain. So bishop takes d5, and after bishop takes d5, rook takes d5, we are raising a middle game in which black has a backward pawn on d6. Therefore, it's a weakness. It's in a semi-open file, and it will be a weakness, and also the square in front of this pawn can be considered a weakness. Let's see from here what was the treatment employed by the Petrosian to gain more advantage. Knight f6, rook d2, rook d8, and now rook d1. The first step is not to allow black ever to play d6, d5 and get rid of his own weakness. So this is completed. Now black played the move rook d7 in order to double rooks and hopefully play d5. But this is not going to happen, as you can guess. Knight to g2, going to e3, or to f4, controlling the square d5. And now, black went rook fd8, knight f4, queen e5, and knight d5. White occupies this square, eliminates the only defender of this d5 square, and it is enough. It is enough to create a strong pressure on black's position. Despite being only one weakness, black has great problems to solve here. Queen e6, and now e4. White's plan is to put the queen on d3, he triples on the d file, and then the threat of e4, e5 would be very strong. So that's why black is not able to defend so easily, because it's not just he defends the pawn on d6 with everything and holds the position. He also needs to prevent e4, e5. So he plays f6, which already weakens the king a little. Petrosian plays queen d3, rook e8, and now f3. Everything is solid. There is no rush. White is in full control here. King f7, b3. Obviously, white cannot take on d6 now because the pawn on c4 is hanging. So first b3. Black is now forced to go back into passivity with rook e8. And white has many choices. He could play almost any move. A move like king g2, for example, is improving the position, could be useful. The move f4 was Petrosian's choice here. Doesn't make much difference. After king e7, he also played king to g2, a6, and now rook d2. He's simply improving the position. Basically, white is better. Here black decided to play b5, which is a big blunder, but you can understand it. He's playing very passive or trying to do something. Anyway, b5 has no justification and is simply a blunder that loses the game. After b5, white plays f5, queen f7. Okay, the point of b5 is that if white takes immediately on b5, then the queen is taken on e4. That's the idea. But f5 removes the queen from e6, and now white can take freely on b5, an extra pawn, positionally better, so there is no chance to save this game. King f8, take on g6, and now, on top of everything, white gets to play e5, because if f takes on e5, rook f2 wins the queen, and if d takes on e5, rook d7, the rook on d7 is hanging. So here he plays queen e6, take on d6, and white wins the pawn endgame. So here black resigns. Again, it's a very nice idea here, but the most important thing is the structure that arose from this tactical operation. Now, after d5, he takes knight h4 with the idea of leaving that weak pawn. Petrosian knew what he was doing. He wanted to capture on d5 with a piece, and now start attacking this pawn on d6. Note how he played rook d2, so black doesn't have any counterplay on e2, and then knight g2, knight f4 was also very, very nice. Okay, let's move on to our next game. Okay, this is another example by Rubinstein against Frederick Yates. Okay, the position seems about equal if it was white's turn. Maybe he wants to play d4. I very much like the move that Rubinstein played here. I find it very instructive. He plays here the move d4. You can see that black has two bishops, so he would like to open up the position a little. Even though his king is on the queen side, there is no real danger. He plays d4, opening the d file, but after c takes d4, the point of the advance was to play knight b4, attacking the d3 pawn and also going to play bishop c6, occupying this important diagonal. Okay, just let me show you what happens if he takes on d4. After knight takes d4, knight takes d4, bishop d4, black has no compensation for the pawn. The battery here on this diagonal is too strong, bishop b6 or bishop a7. There is no real compensation here, so it was never the idea to capture back on d4. The idea was to play knight b4 attacking d3. Okay, so Yates played queen d2, defending the pawn, and now bishop c6, clearing the d file and putting a lot of pressure on f3. Okay, it is clear that sooner or later black will gain his pawn back. So the question is now, what should white play? The position is very complicated and the most obvious moves are not that good. And here white played a3, which is already a mistake. The right move would be d takes c5, a surprising move, but it's the only way to keep the balance. Then after knight takes d3, white can play queen c3, bishop takes on f3, rook f3, bishop c5, let's say knight f2, and there are so many exchanges that white is able to keep equality. Even though it looks like black wins the pawn, white has rook f3 and he will get the f7 pawn back. Of course, this is easy to see when you are analyzing the position with the machine, but no, during the game is much more complicated, and here the move a3 turned out to be a big mistake. Let's see how Rubinstein reacts. He plays the move bishop takes on f3, which is very important move now, because after, let's say, rook takes on f3, he can take on d4, and he doesn't need to retreat the knight. After bishop f2, queen c2, take, knight takes on c2, and black is clearly better. For instance, rook b1, h5. Look at the knight on, it's just simple to look at the knight on d1 to know who is better in this position. White has nothing to attack, and all the pieces are completely misplaced. Later maybe rook c8, rook c6, double rooks on the file, or rook d5 and rook c8. Well, black will have to choose, but in general looks great for black. So after bishop f3, white took on b4, c takes d4, rook f3, d takes on e3, knight e3, and we have this position in which white is up a pawn, but he has weaknesses everywhere, d3 and b4. So white, it's natural that he will lose a pawn after the simple queen b6. Pinning the knight, king h1, queen takes b4. Okay, the smoke has cleared and black has emerged with a superior pawn structure, and also the bishop seems to be better than the knight, because the knight doesn't have any good squares to be. Okay, white played the move queen e2, and as usual, just as the square in front of the backward pawn is always weak, rook d4, attacking the pawn on f4, it is not possible for for white to play knight c2, because queen takes on b2 pins the knight. So rook a to f1. Now the threat on knight c2 is real. So queen b5, knight d1, rook h d8. You can see how all of black pieces are attacking this pawn on d3. Knight to c3, queen d7, keeping the pressure on this pawn. rook d1. Now that all of the pieces are tied up to the defense of this d3 pawn, black proceeds to improve his position even more. The pawn on h5, this is always a useful move. I mean, h4 could be one idea, with h3 sometimes. Rook b4, queen c2, and now rook d4. Well, putting a lot of pressure on white's pawns on f4, no? So after queen d2, queen b6, you can see what black is doing. He's attacking all the pawns at the same time, trying to create some confusion in white's pieces, trying to force him to make a mistake. So far he's defending well. Rook b3, rook d1, rook b3, queen to c2, and now Rubinstein played the move a5, which seems to be very accurate. He wants to play a4 and a3, or maybe rook b4 and then a4, a3. Rook f1, rook db4, knight d1, and here another instructive moment from Rubinstein. He plays queen c5. Well, he improved the queen, and he's forcing, well, not forcing, offering the trade of queens, eliminating the only active piece that white has. The bishop then will land on d4, and the pawn on b2 will fall. So white cannot afford it, and he has to go into a worse position with his queen. Queen d2, now queen d4 again. The square in front of the backward pawn serves like an airport to the black pieces. All the pieces land there, and they are very active here. So knight to c3, bishop c5. This already, he could have skipped this move. For example, h4 with the idea of h3, and after h3 a move like a4 creates many problems for white. The threat of a3 is very strong, and it's not clear how he should play. In any case, Rubinstein would prefer to play bishop c5, queen c2, and put the bishop on b6 for safety reasons. Queen d2, h4, h3, trying to trade the queens, and again bishop d4. All of black pieces have been on the square d4. Rook c1, king a7, not necessarily at all. He could have played the move bishop takes on c3, and after b takes on c3 trade everything and win the pawn on f4. Of course, when you play such endgames, there is always some risk of not winning, because the queen can always give a perpetual check. However, it looks like in this case it would be difficult for white to create perpetual chances. So, but Rubinstein did not take any chance. He plays king a7, and after rook a1, he took on b2. Queen d1. Okay, however, he played now bishop takes on c3, which is a winning move, but he could have won immediately, and you can see here that he missed a tactical solution. Rook takes g2 could have been played, and after, okay, rook takes on a5 is nothing. Black can play king to b6, and if king takes on g2, then queen g3 check, king f1, and mate on f2. It was a simple combination. It's a pity that he missed it, because the work is absolutely fantastic, the previous work, and this would have been a nice endgame to the game. But after bishop takes on c3, queen b6, black is also winning. He has more material and better pieces, and he gains even more. So there is no real point in analyzing any further. He plays a4 now, totally unnecessary risk. Also king b5. There are many ways to win this position, but chose to play this way. Rook f1. I guess the point is to play f4 and f3, rook h8, rook f2. I'm pretty sure that this was not the best way to play, but already the important part of the game we had already seen it. Rook a5, rook d2. It's a very nice way to trade the rooks, because, okay, rook a7 lets the white king escape from the back rank. With rook b2, the king has to stay on the back rank. So white is down 2 pawns, so he will lose without any resistance. e5. And okay, the rest of the game is not really relevant, but after rook d8, here's the sign. There is no way to stop the black pawns. Okay, overall, we could have skipped this phase of the game. It was interesting, but I'm pretty sure that there were mistakes for both sides. Looks like rook takes on g2 is absolutely the winning move here. In any case, it was an excellent game played by Rubinstein, and one game of which we can learn a lot. Starting with the move d4, which is a tactical operation to create weaknesses in white's structure. d4 followed by knight to b4, and then how he keeps the tension on the d file, and he doesn't get his pawn back immediately. Instead, he improves the pieces, and then the mistake comes quite soon. So bishop f3. I like the way black used the square d4 several times for all of his pieces. So in general, a backward pawn is that pawn that is left behind in an open file, and it's always, or most of the cases, it's always a weakness, and we can attack it this way by occupying the square in front, by doubling rooks against it. So with these examples, we see when this pawn is a weakness. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed it, and of course learned something about this structure. See you on our next lesson.